This story is generated and narrated by AI. If you hear anything odd in the voice, please feel free to leave a comment. Your feedback helps shape future episodes. Tonight's tale is a body horror story set in a cold, clinical corner of modern life, medicine, surgery, and transformation. Have you ever wondered what might happen if the wrong medication found its way into your hands? It's hard to know where to begin, not because the story is complicated, but because I still don't understand what really happened. If I'm being honest, I thought it was just a routine surgery, something minor, outpatient, quick and clean. They told me it would only take about an hour, local anesthetic, 2 dissolvable sutures, a benign cyst they'd found during a scan, nothing to worry about. And I believed them, because that's what we do, isn't it? We believe the ones in the white coats. We let them cut us open, because we assume they'll close us back up the same way they found us. But something changed, and I don't think it was the surgery itself. It was what came after. I was discharged the same afternoon, bandaged and numbed, with a polite sheet of post-op instructions folded into my coat pocket. It was cold outside, that kind of late autumn chill that makes your hands feel hollow. I remember watching the condensation on the bus window as I rode home. Everything outside looked blurry, but inside, everything felt sharp. When I got to my flat, the first thing I did was lie down. No fanfare, no pain, just a mild tightness across my lower ribs. They'd cut just beneath the line of my shirt, right where no one would ever notice. I fell asleep around 5 in the evening and didn't wake until nearly 3 in the morning. There was this itch under the gauze, a kind of crawling sensation, like something was threading itself through the muscle. I assumed it was the stitches settling, or maybe nerve endings trying to reintroduce themselves. It didn't alarm me. Not yet. The next morning, there was a package on my doorstep. It was small, plain, no branding, no return address, just my name, typed on a narrow white sticker. Even the tape was unmarked. I thought maybe it was a follow-up prescription. I hadn't been told I'd need any medication, but mistakes happen. The post-op instructions hadn't mentioned pills, though. Inside was a blister pack of 10 capsules, pale, almost translucent. They shimmered slightly in the light, like the coating was oily. There was a folded slip of paper tucked behind the pack, typed, no logo, no signature, begin with 2 capsules per day. Continue dosage until further instruction. That was it. I stared at it for longer than I should have, then set it aside and made coffee. A full day passed before I decided to take the first dose. I convinced myself that it must have come from the clinic, that maybe the note was generic and lazy, but not malicious. And for the first day or 2, nothing happened. I went back to work, remote, thankfully, answered emails, watched dumb videos, tried to forget I'd ever been under the knife. But around the 4th day, I started noticing the colors. Not like synesthesia or anything poetic like that. It was more like everything had been dialed up. The red of my kitchen tiles looked wet. The green from my monitor background made my skin crawl. I stopped turning on the lights unless I had to. Everything just looked wrong. And then came the tightness. Right where the sutures had been, but deeper, like something was trying to push out from beneath the scar. There was a pressure, rhythmic, like a pulse, but not mine. I tried to call the clinic. Their front desk told me I'd had a clean recovery, no notes on additional prescriptions, no further steps. When I mentioned the pills, the receptionist grew quiet. I told her I could bring them in. She said she'd make a note. I asked for Dr. Lorne directly. The surgeon, she said he wasn't available and wouldn't be for another week. The next day, another package arrived. Same size, same label. This time, just the blister pack, no note. And this time, the pills were darker. That's when I noticed the sound. At night, when the apartment was still, there was a subtle shifting, like paper crinkling under skin. Only when I held my breath could I hear it properly. Coming from my ribs. From inside. I stood shirtless in front of the mirror, one hand pressed flat against the scar. The skin was smooth, no redness, no swelling, but I swear, I felt something twitch. A slow, curling motion, just beneath the surface, as though something was readjusting itself. I didn't sleep that night, not really, just short bursts of drifting in and out, waking up to phantom itches, invisible weight shifting across my abdomen. When I checked the mirror again in the morning, the scar was gone. Not faded, gone. No mark, no raised skin, no change in pigmentation, just smooth, untouched flesh, as if no one had ever opened me up. And yet, I could still feel the stitches deep inside. The scar was gone, but the feeling remained. I skipped the pills that morning, stared at them sitting on the counter. Something about the new batch felt heavier, like they were denser somehow, more intentional. My inbox was full, but I ignored it. I kept thinking about the receptionist's voice, that strange pause when I'd mentioned the pills. So I called again, different voice this time, a man, younger, more casual. I asked for Dr. Lorne. He hesitated, then said, "Dr. Lorne hasn't worked here in months." That hit like cold water. I told him I just had surgery last week, under Dr. Lorne. He went quiet. I could hear his keyboard clacking. Then he asked me for my patient number. When I gave it to him, he asked me to hold. 3 minutes of static music passed. Then he came back, voice a little more careful. "There's a note here. It says your procedure was handled by a temp contract, name not on file, referred from an external agency." I asked for the agency's name. He said it wasn't listed. I hung up. Something was wrong, not just with me, but with everything. I pulled out the post-op paperwork again. The print was cheap, low ink. The signatures looked like they'd been photocopied, not signed directly. I looked up the clinic's name online. The website was simple, sterile, too polished, too vague. No doctor bios, no client testimonials, just a homepage and a phone number. And then I noticed something strange in the source code. I'm not a coder or anything, but I know how to inspect a page. There was a hidden tag that said, "Archive page, set expiration, December 3rd. That was tomorrow. That night, my skin began to ache. Not the surface, deeper than that. Almost like my body was growing too fast for the rest of me to keep up. I touched my ribs. They felt different, like there were too many of them. The spacing was wrong. I pressed hard, and something moved beneath the skin. Something that wasn't me. I collapsed in the bathroom, spent an hour on the floor, trying to breathe through the nausea. I kept waiting for it to pass, but instead, the pressure kept spreading. Like roots. Like something branching out from the center of my torso, threading through the muscle, wrapping itself around bone. I took one of the darker pills. I didn't want to, but something in me, something I can't explain, needed it. As soon as I swallowed, the pain dulled, not faded, just dulled, like it was being hidden from me. I slept for 13 hours. When I woke up, my bedsheets were soaked through, and there were flakes of skin on my pillow. Not like sunburn, these were thicker, ridged, like small plates of tissue. I checked my arms, my shoulders. There were subtle lines under the skin, not veins, not scars, more like the suggestion of something about to emerge. I tried going outside. The moment sunlight hit my skin, it felt like someone had laid hot metal against my chest, not burning, rejecting. I ducked back inside, panting, looked down, and there were dark smudges forming under my fingernails. I ran them under cold water, but the color didn't lift. It wasn't dirt. It was something growing underneath. Another package came that afternoon. No pills this time, just a small black envelope. Inside was a single line typed on textured gray paper. "You're nearly ready. Don't fight it." I dropped it on the floor and backed away, but then something inside me agreed. Like a whisper at the base of my skull, something patient and waiting. I hadn't opened the blinds in 3 days. The windows were covered with towels now, taped tight to the frames. I couldn't risk the sun anymore, not after what it did to my skin. The strange patterns beneath the surface were spreading. It started with faint ridges, like the veins of a leaf trapped under flesh, but now they had thickened, pulsing faintly, as if whatever was beneath was growing stronger and more confident. The pills were the only thing keeping it from taking over. I hated them, but I needed them. The worst part, they weren't numbing the changes anymore, just managing them, like a leash on a dog that had already broken the door. That's when I got desperate. I remembered an old friend of mine, Cal, a med student who used to rent the basement next door. Smart guy, kind, skeptical as hell. I hadn't spoken to him in years, but I found his number and called anyway. When he picked up, I didn't bother with small talk. I told him I needed help. Not from a hospital, not officially. I said I was experiencing symptoms I couldn't explain. There was a long pause. Then he asked, "What kind of symptoms?" I said, "You have to see them. I can't explain it over the phone." He agreed to come by, reluctantly. When Cal arrived, I didn't open the door fully, just enough for him to slip inside before the light could reach me. He took one look at me and swore under his breath, "Jesus, what the hell happened to you?" I hadn't seen myself clearly in days, but the look on his face said enough. I sat him down, told him everything: the surgery, the pills, the anonymous packages, the pain, the changes, the feeling that something else was growing inside me. He listened, jaw tight, eyes flicking between my arms and my face. Then he did what any decent med student would do. He started examining me. He brought out a small pen light, checked my eyes. "What color were your irises before?" he asked. "Brown. Why?" He didn't answer, but his hand was shaking. He asked if he could take a sample of the tissue just under my shoulder blade. I agreed. The scalpel barely registered. My nerves were dulled. Or maybe they'd moved deeper. He looked at the sample under a portable pocket scope, then backed away slowly, like he didn't want to alarm me. "This isn't scar tissue," he whispered. "It's keratinized, like armor, but organic, reptilian almost." I could barely breathe. "Something's being rewritten," he added. "Not just mutated, but redesigned from the inside out." I asked if it could be reversed. He didn't answer. Kel stayed the night. He said he wanted to run a few more tests, but I knew the real reason. He didn't want me alone. At 3:42 a.m., I woke up to the sound of my bathroom door closing. I got up, cautiously. Found Cal inside, holding one of the black pills between his fingers. "Where did these really come from?" he asked. I told him the truth, as much of it as I understood. He turned the pill in his hand, sniffed it, then tapped the coating with his nail. "There's no manufacturer stamp, no number code. This isn't from a pharmacy. This was made for you." He dropped it, and it cracked, like something dry and hollow inside. We stared at it. The broken pill had no powder, no chemical scent, just a dark core like dried sap. And in the center of it, something wriggled. Tiny, almost invisible, but definitely alive. Cal flinched back. "Jesus, this isn't medicine. This is seeding." I didn't sleep after that. We talked until sunrise, tried to trace every possibility, every explanation. But the truth was unavoidable. My body wasn't healing. It was evolving. And it wasn't doing it alone. The sun rose, but the light didn't bring warmth anymore. It just made the walls sweat. Or maybe that was me. I was leaking something now, not blood, not sweat, something thicker, translucent, and alive. Cal packed up his things, said he'd try to take the sample to a contact at a nearby lab. He left quietly. No promises, just one last look at me, and I saw it, that unspoken dread, the kind of expression people save for patients they already know are dying. But I wasn't dying. I was changing. That night, I stopped taking the pills. I had to know what would happen, if whatever was growing inside me could finish, if I'd still be me when it did. The first few hours were uneventful. Then came the spasms, not painful exactly, just invasive, like something inside was adjusting its grip on the levers. I stood in the bathroom mirror for a long time, watching. The ridges on my chest began to separate, small slits opening along my rib cage, not bleeding, not torn, just opening. From each slit emerged something slick and twitching, almost like gills, but wrong. They pulsed in time with a rhythm that wasn't mine. I should have screamed, but I couldn't. I was too fascinated. It wasn't until my eyes adjusted in the mirror that I saw them. Faint symbols, etched beneath the skin along my clavicle. Not in ink, not tattoos, but grown there, like veins shaped into a language. They moved when I breathed. Kel didn't come back the next day or the day after. I left him a message, told him not to worry. Told him I felt better. Because I did. The aches were gone. My senses sharpened. I could hear birds outside, feel their wings beating against the air. I could smell the copper of the old radiator 3 rooms away. And most of all, I could feel others. Like me. Not close, but out there, their minds brushing mine like antennae. The pills had kept them quiet, cut the signal. Now, we were connected. I left the apartment at dusk, walked until the buildings thinned out, until there were no cameras, no streetlights. There was a warehouse near the river, abandoned, except it wasn't. The moment I stepped inside, I saw them, 3 others, waiting. Not speaking, not smiling, but I knew them. Not their names, but their shapes, their scars. Each one of us had been chosen, carved, redesigned. And we weren't finished yet. We stood in silence, and something behind our eyes opened. We remembered things we hadn't lived, places we hadn't visited, worlds older than this one, memories that didn't belong to humans. And in the center of it all, a voice, not heard with ears, but felt. It said one word, over and over, a frequency pulsing between our ribs. Awaken. I don't know who sent the pills or how many more are out there, but I do know this. Whatever we are now, we're not broken, we're not victims. We're seeds, and the world is already softening around us. So if you're listening to this, if you find yourself recovering from a surgery you don't remember requesting, if the pills come without explanation, don't take them. Unless you want to know what comes next. What do you think really happened to him? Was it a medical conspiracy, something supernatural, or something older than both? Leave your theory in the comments. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more stories like this one. Every week, we explore horror, transformation, and the unknown, right here on Whispers in the Shadows. And remember, some pills are meant to change you.